Welcome to the Asia Tech Podcast. This is the PitchDeck Asia, and I'm your host for today, Gustavo Leo. I'm actually joined today by Nitin Gandhi. He's the co-founder of Shapecrunch, and he's here in Singapore for a week. Hi, Nitin. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
How has Singapore been treating you?
It's great, whenever I come to Singapore, I try to have all kind of food available over here, and that's the best thing about Singapore. Here you can find all kind of Asian food. Yeah,
I mean, it's a very cosmopolitan
Yeah.
place. You're from Delhi, right?
yeah, right.
And that is, I mean, the many trips that I've been to Delhi, you get a lot of great sort of variety of choices in
Yeah.
different parts, and depending on where you go,
Yeah,
I think the diversity and the culture, it's one of the most fascinating things in Delhi.
yeah, exactly. That is true. That is true. In Delhi, the culture is very cosmopolitan, and over there, you find everything, whatever is available over here. Although, if I have to maybe compare Singapore, so Singapore is more diverse. Here you find people of multiple nationalities
Yeah.
together.
Well, I think every capital,
Yeah.
it's is extremely diverse, and
Yeah.
over the years, especially the culture,
Yeah.
generally attracts a very
Exactly.
abundant
Yeah.
number of people.
Right.
So you are the CEO and co-founder of Shapecrunch, and it's Shapecrunch. It's a printing, 3D printing. Are you guys more of a hardware or more of a software?
So actually, it's a combination of hardware, software, and
Yeah.
medical research. So
Okay.
it's three things coming together. And if you know that any radical innovation, if it has to happen, it
Yeah.
happens when you intermingle multiple branches of science.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
And you yourself, you're a serial entrepreneur. I mean, you've started a couple of companies before
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah.
Have they all been in India, or were they outside of?
So they were in India. So my first company was into 3D printers only. We used to make 3D printers, and we used to do a lot of product design stuff in it.
Yeah.
So my first company was service-based product design business and 3D printers. So after that, I wanted to do something extremely big, which can go global, which, I can scale it
Yeah.
at a height, which I wanted to do.
And there was
So-
a time that 3D printer was extremely on the rise, right? Whereas a lot of parts of the world were looking at exploring how do you use different materials,
Yeah.
how do you print in a more sort of precision, and
Exactly.
the ability to customize everything that you want, not just, the first sort of wave was the ability to print everything, going from the printers where journalism was only allowed for publishers.
Yeah.
Now you can print it at home. And, the 3D printers back in the early 2000s kind of emerged this new breakthrough, and people can make anything they want
Exactly.
on the 3D dimension.
Exactly.
Is that how you started?
So how we actually started was that although I can tell you the whole story, but the first thing that happened was we saw that in a 3D printer, multiple things can be printed.
Yeah.
You can print, maybe toys. You can print maybe, clothes. You can do many things.
Yeah.
But at that time, how you can solve a problem with 3D printing, with manufacturing and with customization. That was a very challenging thing. What are the different specific areas it can actually impact? And at that time, we came out, the healthcare would be impacted a lot with the customization.
Yeah. How did you stumble into healthcare? Was it accidental, or was it on purpose?
Oh, so it was my own personal problem. The
Okay.
problem that I'm solving, which is related to foot. Okay. Which, if you know that every 1 in 4 has flat feet, or
Oh, yeah.
yeah, or even, the problems like plantar fasciitis, or the problems of diabetic foot, con, callus.
Arthritis. And,
Yeah. So all these problems are very common, and right now any solution for them to get is very difficult.
Yeah.
So first of all, the whole setup which is required for any customized solution, you need a lot of things. For example, vacuum pads,
Yeah.
pressure mats, and multiple other things for analysis.
So it's not sort of just like off-the-shelf solution. You do have to mold your entire, and your foot is probably one of the most important organs in your whole body, right?
Exactly. So the foot, basically affects your back, your hips. So there is stats that people.
And we stand on our feet all the time.
So the people who get osteoarthritis here, it has been found it was most likely, about 50% of the time it was linked to foot.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Your spine,
Yeah.
is all interconnected.
Yeah, right. So, and right now, any solution to correct it is very difficult to get. The orthotics which are available through doctors, these are very expensive, because of the machine involved, because of doctor's time involved, and and the price is also fair because it requires a lot of effort.
Yep.
And if you go off the shelf, then you have multiple companies selling it, but they are not treating it. They are basically telling you, it would provide you a 1 hour or 2 hour comfort.
Yeah.
Okay. So at that time we decided, how can we solve it? Because I have flat foot, and I focused on, and my mom also has flat feet.
Yeah. And according to you, it's like 77% of Americans have some form of foot problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that time we realized, it's extremely difficult to get anything custom made.
Yeah.
And then, we thought, because we were already into 3D printing, we thought that how about we 3D print our own insoles and we insert it in our shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. And we did it. And I realized it's actually solving the problem better than the one that I got.
Yeah.
Okay. And I showed it to my doctors and they said, oh, wow, this looks amazing. How you did it. But we were already into that technology and we realized that why don't we take a step forward, because this is a big problem, and if we are able to solve it for doctors, it can be really big business.
Yeah.
And then we focused on how we can create a scanning technique which can make everything easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on that front, when you talked to the doctor, was it more about the shape that is able to be customized, or are we looking at material, or are they equally important?
So all the things are equally important. The first was material, which they wanted, that can you actually change. The first question they asked was that can you change the density? Can you add different materials, or can you change the density? And then we actually realized, with 3D printing, we can do that.
Yeah.
And in fact, for that, we have filed multiple PCDs as well, patents as well. So we went to the doctor and he told us, you can change the shape. Your shape also looks fine. And then what can you do? What else you can do?
Yeah.
So when we mentioned all the points that we can change the angle and everything, so he said, yeah, it can be a good way to start something. It can be something which can become big.
Yeah.
So then we started with that, and then we started looking out for some technique where we can make the scanning process very easy.
Yeah. And how do you make the scanning process very easy?
Yeah. So we looked at into different aspect. The first aspect was that whether to use, traditional 3D scanners, whether to have attachments. But finally, we realized, a scanner is actually a collection of images.
Yeah.
Right.
Course.
So
at different points, right? You just have to be very specific, like where to point those things.
And in the technical terms, there is a principle involved called photogrammetry, where multiple images are joined together and stitched.
Yeah.
And
is that how the movies they make kind of that? Yeah.
Exactly. So at that time we realized, how about we just find images which we actually need to make custom orthotics. Okay. And we use only those images.
Okay.
And then we realize, for taking images, the best thing that everyone has is a smartphone.
Yep.
So we made an app which we made actually an algorithm first, which can convert the images of the foot, the 3 images that we take, which is one from the bottom, one from the side where we measure the arch, we measure the arch shape and height, everything using computer vision and machine learning.
Yeah.
And finally from the back where we calculate the varus valgus angle deformity.
Yep.
And we convert them into a 3D model. Okay, which is then corrected, which is then designed and then 3D printed into a customized orthotic.
Okay. And when you capture that, are they still images or they're actually moving images? So are we talking about video?
So these are still images. Okay. And these still images go into our algorithm. Okay. And then finally algorithm gives us all kind of curves, all kind of, the angles and everything. So
and then you map it out onto your system and start to shape that.
Because we also ask in the app, we ask for the shoe size, shoe shape, the activity level, and based on that, we decide, how much density to give, where to keep the insole soft, where to keep it harder, how to, actually correct the foot shape. what are the different corrections needs to be provided.
So who customize that? Do you give a suggestion, or the customers will have to request?
Yeah, so if you are actually ordering an orthotic, a medical device,
Yep.
you can only buy it from the doctor. So we have multiple partners who are there, who are actually, who use our app, who use our technology.
Oh, so the doctors are
Yeah,
the ones
yeah.
using it. Okay.
Yeah, so they use our technology and they order it from us. They actually, the patients can go over there and order it from there.
Okay. And this is actually, have you had data on how well received it is by the doctors? Do the food doctors like it? Are the only food doctors your only target market, or are you looking at wider sort of?
So it's a wider market, but what we actually do is we prefer that whoever the doctor is, it can be a physiotherapist, a chiropractor, or a podiatrist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and we prefer that they are trained. They are trained about the knowledge of foot. They know everything about the foot, because foot is actually connected to everything.
Yeah.
So the people, there is another thing. The people who are going to a podiatrist, okay, they know they have foot problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you are going for a back pain or a hip pain, you don't know that you have a foot problem. And when you go to a physiotherapist or a chiropractor, he tells you that you have a problem in your foot. It's because you're walking incorrectly. It's because your foot is going inward, and you need to correct that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And besides the actual thing, obviously that you have to combine it with all of the exercises that the doctor has given you,
exactly.
especially if you have something that requires a lot of physio.
Right.
And how customizable is this? This is obviously is printing anything that you would essentially point towards.
Yeah. So besides the traditional means, how it used to be printed earlier, what used to happen was that there were like 2 or 3 different materials which were used actually to change, so that you can have materials of different density, so that patient can feel comfortable.
Yep.
What we actually did was, we used the same material and we changed the density at different levels.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So what it actually did was it made the whole product into just one. And on the top of it, we put an additional layer of cushioning, so which makes it extremely comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And okay, so can we take a look at the slide? Right now, I'm looking at your app, and this app is. Do the customers themselves have access to the information on their food, or only the doctors will?
So usually the customers can also fill this form. Okay, if they have prescription from the doctor, they can upload it over there. So we have an upload prescription option in which the doctor gives the prescription that how the orthotic has to be made.
Okay.
And we made it exactly as it is given.
Okay, great. And this is how the final product comes out, and you ship it to the customer.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. I'm just looking. Could you just walk us a little bit through like how, because right now you have some of the different shapes that is coming out and customizing different type of material. How long is that process of the manufacturing for this to get to the customer?
Yeah, so usually it takes about 7 to 10 minutes to scan using our app. And finally, with our 3D printing technology, it takes about 4 hours to print the whole pair. Okay. So we just need to put it in that machine.
That is really fast.
Yeah.
But then again, what if the material, because by the time you receive it at your end, the manufacturer will have to make it. Is that centralized, or the doctor is made at the doctor themselves?
So right now it's centralized, because we want to actually decentralize it eventually in future. But because right now 3D printing, although it's advanced, but it's not that advanced that anyone can operate it very easily without any hassle.
Yeah.
Okay, it still requires a bit of tinkering. So right now we have kept it at just one central faculty. And we have actually in Singapore, we are manufacturing one kind of orthotic which is very thin over here.
Yeah.
And rest of the manufacturing is done in India.
Okay. And how is it compared? Like, because now you are in Singapore, you've just gone into US. Is there a lot of competition in this space?
So, so there definitely, competition is there in the space, and there have been ways, because it was manufactured traditionally through a process.
Yep.
And we are completely disrupting the whole process.
Yeah.
Okay, we are providing them the app and everything. So
it's the hardware and software integration type of thing. Yeah.
So it's basically moving the complete hardware into a software.
Yeah.
Which is something which is very unique for a lot of people, and so whatever hardware companies existed, and then completely changing into a software is kind of course it's challenging as well, and for the competition but the point of software is the software is very scalable.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone can have it, and it's not costly. We right now we are giving to doctors for free.
And a lot of the hardware is also very hard to sort of replicate because of the capital intensity.
Exactly. So usually, right now, for any doctor or a physio to have all those kind of hardware, he might have to give a trial and he might have to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
What we usually do is we are just right now telling the doctor just to give it a try. We will give you the samples for free, and if you think that this is good, then you can go ahead. Okay. So they usually try it on their own, or they usually have it and then they go. So yeah.
And on the product development front, because you come from the hardware printing, sort of 3D printing space, how much did they require for you to sort of transition into the software space? Because the software obviously is where a lot of that value has transitioned over the last 10 years. Right now, did you have to bring in new members that understood this space, or were you able to implement that?
So actually, I will be actually honest, the software wasn't a lot difficult to implement, but hardware was.
The hardware front.
Yeah. Okay. The hardware front was extremely difficult, and
even though you already had you had done business before on this.
So the thing is that it's extremely easy to make a prototype of everything.
Yeah.
But to make a sellable product which looks good, which is like aesthetically very good, and which people can say and look at it and say, wow, this is what I need. So that transition took us a lot of time, to build that, the branding, making it look good, and aesthetically improvement, the functional design. So that took us a lot of time.
What were the challenges? Because you talked about the aesthetic. I would think that if it's something that you're talking about on the software front or the actual hardware.
So I'm talking about the hardware front. Software we were able to solve, considering because we were I was in India. Yeah. So over there the software is not a challenge. You can
get a lot of smart developers.
Yeah, we got a lot of we got very good smart developers. We got UI UX designer. In fact, we did the whole UI UX design at our company. Okay. So and then besides this, the learning curve in software is like like if you want to make an app or something, these days the learning curve is like in 15 days you can understand UI and UX design. Okay, that's not a problem at all. Especially of the app, if you go through like several example, if you check like
and it's easy to validate, right? Because you go online and everybody can like validate that.
Yeah, but in hardware, the thing is that first of all, I have to order things from here and there, and then it takes a lot of time to reach. If I'm ordering something, for example, the upper material of our orthotic comes from US.
Yeah.
Okay. So to get that thing, and to have that whole time, it takes it takes a lot of time. If you're spending like 7 or 8 days in shipping, and those import duties, export duties, and managing all the operations,
the finances, and all that,
So in startup, the problem with hardware startups is that
supply chain.
Yeah. So the supply chain is like completely, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And like if you compare it to the software side, in 7 days till the time you're waiting for some material to come, in 7 days you can do several things in that time period. So and in startup, it's all about time.
Time is money.
Yeah, time is money.
You have nothing more valuable. Either you burn out money or you essentially find.
So if you are waiting for 7 days, to get that thing out, basically you are paying your staff for that 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay. So that becomes very challenging in the hardware front, and I felt that hardware was more difficult part as compared to.
And at what point, because obviously in India your cost would have been a lot lesser than if you had done your startup here in Singapore or in the US. At what point did you decide that it was time to get out of India and start exploring, or did people come and approach you?
Yeah. We were approached before even we actually launched the product. Okay. So we were actually approached from Europe. We were approached from Middle East and Singapore, US. In fact, one of our competitor came from US to India to just check out what we guys are doing. So actually so I agree. So at that point we realized that this has a lot of international value, and we actually can scale it globally. So after 1 year of operation in India, working with different doctors, improving the product. We started doing some trials in Singapore, and which turned out to be extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, because Singapore is the best hub, you can say, for Asia, to actually start up. What I realized is that after, because this was the closest proximity,
Yeah.
it gave us the market is very good over here. And it gave us the right things which we can actually replicate the same thing in any other country, especially in European and US market.
Yeah.
So that worked out very well for us. We did the trials. We started getting a lot of orders from here, and everything started to increase. And there was a time when our revenue from Singapore became almost equivalent to India.
Yeah.
What we achieved in 1.5 years, we did it over here in like 3 or 4 months.
That global, because a lot of mistakes that you've learned in India,
exactly.
you didn't have to, you learned from that, you don't have to replicate it.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that traction? Because you said that India, obviously that was your year one, right?
Yeah.
Your year zero and year one. And that grind as an entrepreneur, even though this isn't your first startup, how was the acquisition strategy and how hard was that?
So overall, definitely, if anyone is starting up, the most difficult phase is the product market fit.
Yeah.
Okay, where you actually are going to make your first few sales, and you understand this is the right way, and this is how you have to drive your whole company.
And you still have to like educate the customers, right?
Yeah.
In your case, it's like you have to educate the doctors.
Yeah. And so what actually we did was, first of all, I was lucky to have very good advisors who were there with me. So in fact, the last advisor that we had, who has joined us as an investor as well.
Yep.
He has been the CEO of a medical device company, one of the biggest medical device company, India CEO of medical device company, and he has been guiding us. And then we also have people who have worked in the large pharma companies for 15-20 years, and he has been advising us, what you can do and what things you can do ahead.
Yeah.
So at that time we realized, what are the different ways. So we took out like 10 different things. We tried we experimented on each and everything. And finally we zeroed it out that this is the right thing to do. Okay. And, I can tell you, my last investor, the first 3 meetings I had, he focused on just one point, that who is your ideal customer?
Yeah.
Who are you actually selling to? Is it the doctor?
Yeah.
And if it's a doctor, who is the right doctor? Okay. And then he also focused on, out of these doctors, who is the right profile you're going to sell to?
Yeah. So who will be the right doctor?
So right now we are selling it to, the first is podiatrist. Second is, but podiatrists are very rare. I don't know why people don't go into it. But, for example, Singapore has a good number of podiatrists.
Yeah.
In Malaysia, you will find hardly less than 10, in fact.
Yeah.
In India,
because a lot of doctors, the way they've been doing their their practices all these years has not been in their way, right?
Yeah.
So how much education is it required, and how easy is it to get them to adopt?
So see, the thing is that as of now, education in terms of product, in terms of software,
specs, and getting them to use the technology that they're not used to using. Yeah.
See, the challenge that we found was, of course, they were using it in a traditional way.
Yeah.
And when we moved it to software, the biggest challenge they had was that this won't look like like a serious thing to our clients.
Yeah.
Okay, that you're doing.
So they take it more seriously.
Yeah. So they said your product is very good. You are solving a problem.
Yeah.
But that whole thing which was big and which was fancy, this looked very serious to our clients. Yeah. So maybe we will just keep it and show it to the clients. Okay. And also provide the scan to that. But we will also use your product. So the thing is, when you actually, this is a very funny thing. If you actually compare a very big structure which has and you make it completely redundant and do it into your app or a small software, people start to question you the validity.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is when we tell them that we have done medical research on it, we have been working.
Want clinical trials. They want to see a track record.
And we have done that, and we have got like more than 5,000 patients already wearing it, and they are loving our product. And if you check our reviews, they love it.
Yeah.
So that was the actual big challenge working with when you actually they also have to think actually what can be marketed well to any walk-ins, people who are coming in. You can't actually show that you're doing it with the phone,
Yeah.
because then they have to explain that this is the app, this is something which they have done, this clinical trials you have done, and they are doing very well. But they feel, the best way would have been they just keep a structure. They don't,
Yeah.
so that was one big challenge that we actually faced.
And
Well,
all of this sounds very extensive because you need to know hardware, you need to know software, you need to know medical
yeah.
stuff, and then you need to know the doctors themselves. Can you talk to us a little bit about your team?
Yeah.
And what are their sort of what areas do they cover?
Yeah. So, as you can see, so one is I'm actually an electronics engineer. I have a
Yep.
lot of startup background, and I have worked with startup before. I have started my own as well.
Yep.
And then we have a mechanical engineer. He also did. He was my partner in my last company, and he actually loves to assemble 3D printers, and he knows everything about 3D printing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he made like so
It's
right
like he
now.
wakes up in the morning and it's like, I'm passionate about
Yeah.
assembling and
Yeah,
breaking it apart again.
So this is what actually, I saw him, like he used to assemble 3D printers in like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And he used to have like a stopwatch
Yeah.
on his, and he used to do it like very, very
It's
fast.
like the cubic
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cubic
yeah.
thing, and they can do it within a second.
Exactly.
How did you guys meet?
So he's my school friend. We have
Oh,
been,
okay.
so he has been my best friend, and we have been together since 6th grade. And he knows me very well, and I know him. Same school, same college, and we live very close to each other at our hometown.
Yeah.
So, which worked out very well. And then we found the third guy who was a software developer. He was there in my last job, and he also has been, like he's a very good, and he did like he worked on multiple projects before this, and was also working with me in my last company.
Okay.
So I knew him very well. So he joined us as a software developer. And then finally, we also got one biomedical engineer from University of Pennsylvania,
Okay.
who was in California for 10 years. And he already knew about medical device space and regulatory space.
Yeah.
So he was working with companies as a regulatory specialist.
Yeah.
And then he joined us, he knew that this can go very big globally. Then he joined us, to take this product at a global level.
How was it easy to convince him to join a startup?
No,
especially in the
actually, he
medical?
approached us.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
One of the areas that I find that a lot of people in the med tech field,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we talk about med,
Yeah.
whether you're talking about pharma, you're talking about the actual surgery process, or any of the sort of research area. To get them into the tech space is one challenge.
Yeah.
Now to get them out of all of that and join a startup so that they will be doing everything, that is a whole new level of challenge.
Yeah.
And they're in high demand. A lot of biotech companies are searching for people who have a good knowledge of technology as well as a good knowledge of the medical field.
Yeah, so that is true, and also, the thing is that the thing about actually the whole medical device or medical technology domain is that it's not a business where you can do everything very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of R&D.
Yeah, a lot of
money,
R&D.
yeah.
It's not something, where I say that I made a product today, I'm going to test it on you tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Okay. I can be sued for that. And, I can't do that. I have to do a couple of things before
if
that.
anything goes wrong,
Yeah, yeah,
you don't want to
yeah,
be dealing
right.
with all that.
So overall, for any life sciences, medical and healthcare company, the span is very it will take at least 3 to 4 years, just to actually say that our product is working and, we are selling it.
With a pattern of 10 years
Yeah,
later
yeah,
on,
yeah.
it's kind of like...
So,
anyway.
so that makes the whole game very interesting as well. But that is actually a very, you can say, turn off for a person who is coming from a background of, where they have made money in just 2 years as a software developer, and then the valuation of the company goes like from hardly like a couple of $100,
Nothing,
and, like...
So like hundreds of millions.
And they got lucky. Yeah. So that doesn't happen in the medical space. You won't see any medical companies where the valuation has rose in just 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
It takes time.
There's a lot of like time doing R&D, and everybody, all the investors are sort of like, anticipating and waiting until that one day when finally it does get that breakthrough, and then you get that massive jump in valuation.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is a true thing you're talking about, and that is something which is there in the medical space, which makes it a bit difficult because to attract talent, because it requires a lot of perseverance.
Yeah.
Okay, but the best
And to
part,
retain, not just attract, you have to retain talent.
retain, yeah,
Because you've got all the big organizations that are sort of
Exactly.
trying to get them back into that
exactly,
system.
exactly. So, so that is what I actually found, and the other thing which is there is that that overall, in the medical field, the error rate is very low.
Yeah.
Once you actually get in, and I remember a quote from the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, that that they love to do very difficult things, which I also like the same way, because if you're doing extremely difficult things, you don't have to worry a lot about competition.
Yeah.
Right,
Of course.
because that competition,
the barrier of entry is just very hard.
the
right?
barrier
It's
of
very
entry
hard.
is so hard.
Yeah.
That you won't actually worry a lot about, and that's what kept us going. Like, we knew that if we have cracked it, if we have to stand in front of doctors and tell them that this is how it works, for anyone to do the same thing, he has to go through that hard work.
The entire sort of process.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think when you actually do get to that level, it's all about acquisition, right? It's how do you grow? That growth, it's still down to the core, is a business, and you want to be a profitable business for your investors, and so be able to balance the sort of breaking the code with the doctors and getting all of that acceptance. You also still have to grow the business and help them retain their customers.
Yeah.
Right. How do you find in terms of growth? Because that retention, I would think that once you've made a sole, do you see people coming back and making more soles for every single shoe?
Right. So we have like 25% rate where 25% of people buy another pair just within the next 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah. 6 months to just 1 year. So
do we know why? Is it because
no, they want it for their other pair of shoes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking about fashion here. Like, you have many pairs. You could only buy one before. Now you can buy multiple.
Yeah. So I remember one customer who bought like in just 3 months he bought like 12 pairs because he had a lot of shoes and nothing was comfortable to him. So once he wore over insoles, he wanted it for all the pairs.
Okay.
So that is the kind of that's how the whole orthotics thing works. If you're comfortable in one, you would like to have it more.
Yeah.
Okay. So and this is what we did actually in the first 1 year. We actually saw, we were just observers. We were noting it down that this is what's happening. And the same thing we started to replicate, and finally, understood that which is the right market and where we have to grow.
I think comfort, there's no price to comfort.
Yeah.
Because people don't buy products, people buy experiences. And the fact that, the shoe sole, right, it's one of the key components of, especially for people that have to be standing all day, that comfort, that experience is so important. As compared to something that is fashionable, that people can see, where you wear it for status.
Yeah.
That value, it comes on a very different sort of price point. How do you price yourself, and how did you go through that sort of market segmentation for pricing your soles and your customers? Yeah.
So right now, see, that depends a lot on the market where we are selling it at.
Yeah.
And that depends, how what kind of product that person is buying it. So if you're buying it for, say, fashion, or you can say just for the normal comfort, if you don't have any problem, you can get it like in less than $100.
Yep.
Okay, but of course, if it requires a lot of modification, if it requires which requires medical assistance, which requires a lot of R&D, that if this is a problem, how it has to be done, then the price goes upwards till $230.
Do you have a segmentation of how, what type of customers are requiring these type of services more?
Yeah, see, of course, in this case, as of now, we are focusing a lot on medical.
Okay.
Although, we get a lot of demands from sports and, people who are looking for comfort as well.
Yeah.
But
sports performance is very important, right?
Right. But yeah, so the first thing that we have done is we have started with the medical only.
Okay. And medical, what are we talking about in the medical?
See, in the medical field, there is a lot of people who have problems like flat feet, plantar fasciitis, diabetic, leg length discrepancy, where one leg is bigger than the other. Yeah. And then you have a con, where you get a con on the feet, and calluses, and all these problems.
Yeah, we work with a couple of startups that are actually solving different problems of food, but none of them are actually doing a molded, customized sort of shoe,
Yes.
shoe sole, and especially in the space of arthritis and heart strokes, this is a very big problem, right?
Yeah,
all of that is interconnected.
Yeah, see, exactly. It's better, if you actually check the whole rate of the back problems or all these problems, the upper back, lower back, hip problems.
Yeah.
If you imagine the couple of $100,000 a person spends on all these treatments,
Yeah.
and all these start,
Exactly,
after,
yeah.
So all these start after 35 or 40 years of age, which is actually, considering we are all into our phones and smartphones, it's actually increasing.
Yeah.
And and especially the posture, the posture and back. So if you actually check, all these are coming up, like in your 30s or 35. So all these starts very soon now.
Yeah.
And
it affects everything. It's your work performance, it affects your nerve, your attitude and your mood, which is extremely important to get you by the day and your productivity, right?
Exactly.
Were you guys able to capture data to show that as well, in terms of like how a food problem, and by not taking care of your food, it would lead to all these different type of
so we have couple of researches which are already done, okay, where it has where they have shown that how a foot is related to your knee problems, your back problems. But we actually couldn't, as of now we haven't done any research on that. But definitely, in future we have plans to work on that as well.
Well, you're collecting data, and all of that data, it's at some point you'll be able to process that into something that will be useful for the doctors.
Oh yeah, we are loving that actually.
What kind of data are you collecting at the moment?
So it's actually it has, the data is related to the age of the patient, the weight of the patient, and it's like we usually tell the doctor, if you want to hide the name and phone number and everything, you can go ahead and do that. So because we also have to remain compliant.
Of course.
Yeah.
GDPR.
Yeah. So, but the rest of the data which is there, which we have the age, weight, height, and the whatever the activities are there, and what are the problems are there, what are the solution that we have provided, it all comes together, like the different pain area solution, and then we actually are seeing what are the different things, that what is the average shoe size and of a particular area, and then what is the problem which is more pertinent in that area, and then we also check that why this problem actually happens, why this problem is most common among people.
So are you looking for like correlations of why a certain sort of demographic, a certain type of region are having a common type of problems on their food?
Yeah, exactly. So we get all that data, and that can be utilized in making the mass kind of insoles, which can be off the shelf as well, which can provide a very very good comfort to those people, and we can do several things with that, and that is what the goal is. So
has any sort of data that has come out that surprised you? Or that's something that you didn't know about, certain sort of regions or certain people that had specific type of food, or so kind of data that might be interesting to you?
See, I have it, but it would be more like we would require some more data, because right now we have data of just about 5,000 patients.
Okay,
so we are collecting, which I can actually say as a scientific fact. But it will take me some more time. Once I collect it, probably I will get back on that.
You need you'll be coming back to the show, and I would love to find out a little bit more. Especially now you are looking at the US, and the US, as you start to go into different parts of the world, it'll be very interesting to know, like what are the sort of different regions. I mean, God knows, could it be water? Could it be, the type of genes that is from that part of the world?
So I can, if you want me to share, I can share one. This whole thing is very genetic. So what we actually found was that the people who have one problem in their genes, especially the flat feet,
the
most
parents
likely,
and everything,
the parents and everything would be there. Okay. So second thing we also found was that the feet difference which is there, it's like very different. For example, in sometimes in Europe, we used to get orders which were not even fitting in our 3D printers. So so these were like small things which were there.
And this is so important. I mean, yeah, they're small little sort of things that are often overlooked, but they're so important because right now, investors, when they're investing in a business and looking at whether there is potential for growth, right? They've moved beyond that. Growth is no longer the sort of acquisition strategy, but essentially, if genetics, it causes a network effect. So, for instance, if I have a flat feet and I happen to know about your services, it's very likely that my family will also have this kind of condition, which then that network effect starts to spread out, right? That my cousins, all of everybody who's like genetically connected to me.
Yeah, exactly. So that is actually what the kind of experience we are building. For example, if you have some, or maybe you are looking for comfort. So once we have collected that this is the problem that you have, this is what you have.
For heritage.
Yeah. And if you want me, if you want for future pairs as well, we already have everything that we need.
And your children.
Yeah. So, if you want, we can, if you just tell us our order number and we will just process it again and again, we can.
I think going forward, your sort of acquisition strategy could implement that, right? Where if you come from like the referral basis or your family basis, obviously that as a package has a lot of value.
Yeah. So we usually do that. We have started those things in India where we are actually doing like this. If you're going to buy multiple pairs, we will give you some discounting, and that has been working very well.
Yeah, and as you come into Singapore, how fast are you seeing that growth? Because you said that was able to meet within a couple months the whole year of what India was.
So the growth is very good over here, and as I mentioned, right now we are more into medical space over here.
Yeah.
But we will be soon launching our the retail products and the products which consumers directly can also buy.
Do you think Singapore has a much faster growth because of the need for it, or is it because of the spending power?
So actually it is both. The spending power is there, and secondly, people care a lot about, as you mentioned, experiences.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, the best part about any economy is when you find a lot of people who are together, which is a very densely populated area.
Absolutely.
The network effects are very quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Where if one doctor likes it, he would actually tell the other doctor very fast, and people know each other.
And there's a lot of doctor associations here that happen, and a lot of events that draw different parts of the world into Singapore.
Exactly.
And obviously that expo, those kind of exhibitions are extremely important for you guys, right? That's where you reach out to everybody.
So that works very well for us. If someone is located in, say, Singapore, most likely he would have, and most likely he would be in touch with colleagues in Hong Kong. Or Shanghai. So that works very well for us, because then we are able to scale from just one area to the several parts without even actually thinking, oh, we didn't even thought about that. For example, from Singapore to Malaysia, our transition was very easy.
Yeah.
So we started selling in Malaysia just last month, and over there also things are going fast.
Really fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find there's differences in culture or any adoption, acceptance in terms of technology here as compared to where India and US?
I think, that depends a lot on the culture, from where actually things are happening. But over here, because in Singapore, a lot of people are, you can say, even in US as well, a lot of people are expats. But in Singapore, people expect, you can have manufacturing anywhere, where, most likely the product is coming either from Australia or India or China or from anywhere.
Yeah.
While if you are actually in India, they want that if this thing is made in India, that would be great, because it's a very big country, and they want why something is coming from outside. So and in US also, we are most likely to have hubs over there. So that is the cultural difference I found, that the acceptance level is different based on where the things are there.
And in your deck, you also mentioned about some vertical expansion. And that obviously is it partly because you've gone to different parts of the world, or was that already in the pipeline for you to revisit?
So actually, this is more in pipeline for us, because this is what actually we talked to the doctors, and they told us that this is what they need. Okay. So, for example, the pressure sensing sole, which is already in our pipeline, which would be released in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
It would be an immense potential for the diabetic patients.
Absolutely.
And if you know the stats, every 30 seconds there is a foot being amputated.
Yeah.
just because of diabetic
And there's
foot
no
ulcer.
cure for it.
There is
right?
no cure
Yeah.
for it. And the only way you can do is you can prevent that.
Yeah. In the US, they have so many, Europe and US. We were in Europe late last year, and they had so many hackathons just trying to solve for diabetic issues, arthritis, food problems.
Yeah.
That it's, cancer used to be one of the major sort of focus in terms of trying to find, and it still is. But now they are trying to find more immediate solutions, which is your food issues, like.
Yeah, exactly. So because the problem is so big. For example, if I talk about US, they spend like $10 billion on just treatment of diabetic foot.
Oh yeah.
So so these are very big problems, and they impact a person's life very badly.
Yeah.
So so our goal is actually to start with. So we have already developed that pressure sensing sole, smart sole.
Yeah.
So
and
that
you can collect that on the IoT format.
So that's what. So we are collecting the data that how a person's foot is actually, where the pressure is more, where the pressure is less,
Yeah.
and accordingly telling in the app that this is where the high pressure areas are, and accordingly we make the sole so that it can compensate for those pressure areas and make it very comfortable.
Yeah. And this is something that the patient actually. This is seen by the patient or seen by the.
So
doctor?
this is seen by the both. We usually give it out to we'll be giving it out to the doctor, and the doctor would be actually giving a report to the patient immediately.
Imagine like when the masseurs and the foot masseurs, what do you call that, reflexologist, are able to see this and different type of pressure points. That entire process of experience and treatment will completely change.
Exactly. So so you can say, that can be a really good idea. In fact, I haven't even thought of it. Yeah.
Well, we work a lot with startups too, in terms of looking at like the scale front, right? And the area that you are touching, you touch on not just the medical. Obviously, that is your first market entry, but then you are looking at also the entire sort of array of experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would include the masseurs, the foot I can never say that word, flexologist. Because that pressure point or whether it's essentially the value that they give to the customer. Right?
I agree. Yeah. So definitely, that is another way to go. Where
and determines whether the customer will keep coming back to you.
Right. I agree.
At this moment, it's all about feeling of the gut. But if you can see it on some form of screen, every time I'm like sort of pressing on a pressure point, would essentially be very complementary to whatever shoes you're wearing.
Yeah, I agree. And if you are and if you actually check out the pressure points, they would be they would be the maximum pressure where it would be going on, and they are more fatigued.
Yeah.
So if you can actually relax those pressure points, it can provide the very ultimate level of comfort.
I love this conversation because it's a personal pain point, and having to stand and walk a lot. Especially because Singapore, although it's not very big, but it is one of the countries that you don't really need a car. You can commute from one place to another, and the consequence of that is that you do have to walk.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Even standing inside the sort of train stations, you still have to be standing all day. And with that, I would love to continue the conversation, and I really look forward to bringing you back into the show to see how you're able to sort of progress in the next 3 months.
Yeah, sure.
Can we talk a little bit about your fundraising, because this is one of the key more critical things. So you're raising 750,000.
Yes.
That is going to take you to about 2 to 3 years time.
Yeah. So exactly. So we are not a money burning business. You can say. It's not a startup where we actually are looking for like that hyper growth and doing everything in one year. So that as I mentioned, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we did was we started in India and Singapore, and we are already breaking even over there. Okay. So the next thing that we are doing is we are testing the market of US, and we are starting over there. We have got a great team over there who are actually helping us. We got a vascular surgeon, a podiatrist, who is going to help us out to reach out to people over there.
So if you raise 750,000, what would that do? How would that help you?
So the first thing that we're doing is we are converting the whole product into the platform where any doctor or anyone can join it, and make it a whole hub where they can actually where we can market the whole hub, and in fact the patient can come over there. And second thing is we are converting the whole product into into a bigger version where we'll have the posture, gait analysis, everything into just one app.
Yeah.
Okay, the pressure, posture, gait, and which would give us the whole holistic feedback of the patient,
Yeah.
not even before he has purchased an insole, even after, or even he doesn't want to purchase. At least we will be able to see, how his whole growth has been going on.
Yeah. So you'll be bringing more people, you'll be hiring more people.
Yeah.
What is the and is the type of investors important, or right now you already know how you're going to allocate? Are you looking for investors that are able to open certain doors for you?
See, I prefer that only, and in fact,
so it's the color of money.
Yeah, so it's I have actually been very picky on that, and I prefer investors who can help me out.
And what would be sort of the profile of investors that you're
So
looking
I
for?
usually look for the people who have worked in medical space, and because this is very important. If
Absolutely.
they understand medical business, how it actually operates, where the hockey stick growth comes at some point, and nobody knows what point it can be. So I want that kind of investors, if they can support us.
Yeah.
And
You're
that
visionaries.
yeah, who are visionaries in that, and that's what we are looking for. So all my investor has been the medical investors, and they have all worked in medical domain, or they have invested in medical companies.
Well, there are also investors that don't come from the medical field, but they have they have a personal pain point. And for products like shoe sole, for example, it is a very personal product.
Yes,
and
yes.
coming from a customer point of view, I can see how being invested in a company that has a long-term sort of trajectory for addressing this type of issues would be very beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. See, that is where things come at, and see, I actually believe a lot in diversity in investors as well as my team, because this adds a lot of value. If you have if you have people in medical domain, the similar thing you need in the other domains as well, and if they have. Because I don't come from a medical background, to be honest.
Yeah.
And if you actually
But
read
you are a
this stuff-
consumer, and
Yeah.
you have a pain point.
Yeah. So exactly, so there is no hard and park rule for that. But yeah, I prefer people who can bring in value.
Of
So
course.
that is the just basic thing. If someone can add value to my business,
Yeah.
that can work very well.
And you mentioned that you're hiring as well. What sort of roles or background are you looking for?
So right now we are mainly looking for product designers, especially in the field of hardware product designers whose focus has a lot been on accessory and lifestyle designs, and besides this, the brand strategist who understand the digital brand strategy. That's what we are hiring for.
Fascinating. So it's been a fantastic chat. I really learned a lot about food and food hardware.
Yeah, all right, glad to know.
And that has given me a much more appreciation of my food.
Okay.
So I have to start taking care of it.
All right, glad to know that.
Thank you for that. And so, Nitin, I have one more question before we end.
Yeah.
If our audiences want to reach you, how can they get hold of you?
They can email me.
Yep.
I can give you my email ID. It's Nitin, Nitin,
Yep.
@shapecrunch.com.
Awesome. And you're flying back to India, so obviously a lot of the Singapore audiences and different parts of the world will be sending you emails.
Sure. Perfect.
Great. Okay, so this comes to the end of our show. Thank you very much, Nitin, and I hope you visit us very soon again. I look forward to putting you in the seat one more time.
Sure. Thank you so much.
This is your first recording, right?
Yeah, this is my first one.
Okay, it wasn't as bad as you thought.
Yeah.
Great. So this is the PitchDeck Asia, and I'm Gustavo. Thank you for listening.